A unique experience coming to Southern Roots Brewery next Friday. Author and podcaster Claire Sanema will do a live recording of her true crime podcast, Final Days on Earth, and there she will cover a case that has haunted Waco over 40 years, the Lake Waco murders. Here to talk about the upcoming event is author and podcaster Claire Sanema and her special co-host and our 4 p.m. producer, Celine Gonzalez. So thank you so much for being here again and for you coming out from behind the camera to be here with us too. We love this.
Yeah.
Okay, it's going to be good. All right, so last time you were here, you were promoting the book. It was Killer Story. With it being out for, 2 months now, what's the feedback been like? What have you gotten as far as readers' responses to it?
I've gotten a really great response. I'm so gratified by it, but people are really talking about how it has a unique point of view. And I've heard from some readers that are, going back and watching the episodes of 48 Hours that I talk about in the book, and they're seeing them in a whole new light.
I imagine so, with that perspective of what had to be done to get there. We want to find out, though, so Celine, when you were reading that book before we prepared for this interview, I guess you kind of got invested. Talk about kind of the build-up and what your takeaways were to her book that kind of ultimately led to this collaboration.
Yeah, I got it a couple days before the interview, and I feel like I just devoured it. It's a book that I think every producer should read. It's really, really good. It really does give you an inside look of what it's like reporting true crime, and so I think everybody in the TV industry dreams about working in network TV, and so I had a lot of questions. I feel like Claire's book really answered that. So yeah, and I sent her the link to the video, and then I kind of shot my shot. And I was like, hey, if you ever need any help with your podcast or social media, let me know, and you did. So.
Yeah, as a journalist, I mean, I can tell you some of those insider books, especially with producers, it really does give you a lot of insight into what your life could be like should you choose that particular career path. So we appreciate what you've done to put that out there. For those who are not familiar with the Lake Waco murders, can you give a brief refresher and overview of the case?
Sure. So it was July 1982 when 3 teenagers went to Lake Waco to watch the sunset, and they never came home. It's a tragic story. Their bodies were found. It was a brutal crime. And, while people did go to prison, were convicted, now there are questions about whether the right person paid for this crime.
We have some video to show of the crime scene. And as far as, the victims as well, what kind of questions still remain from this case? What are people still saying about it? Anybody still alive that was touched by this?
There are so many questions that remain. The evidence in this case, there was never a clear DNA match to the killer, and that's always raised a lot of questions. It really, the case hinged on jailhouse snitch testimony, which is controversial, as well as bite mark forensics, which have now really come under question as, whether or not we can rely on that.
Tell me again the year that this occurred.
1982.
Okay, so DNA evidence wasn't even used at that point.
Correct.
So it was just kind of a new thing. Bite mark. I know that was in the Ted Bundy case. That was something that was relied upon in some of those in this ultimate conviction. Just so much to get into there, but we know you're still getting ready for the event. When you did all this research to kind of look at this particular case, what did you find that was really especially interesting that you'd like to give us a tidbit of before the actual podcast itself?
So one of the towels that was used to bind one of the victims, they were able to pull some DNA from it, with modern technology, and none of the 4 people who were arrested and tried for this murder matched that DNA.
Okay, what do you think about that? Does it shock you?
It's crazy. I'm still doing a lot of research, but for me, what really stood out was the role that psychics played in this case. There was 2 psychics that one of them had visions of the moment that it happened, and then another psychic was sought out by Waco PD, right? Yeah. So that was very interesting and fascinating to me.
Do you run across that a lot, or have you previously that psychics have been used in investigations in 48 hours in your work?
It's an unusual circumstance, but whenever they have nothing to go on, whenever authorities are desperate for answers, sometimes they turn to the paranormal. And I have seen it used before.
And have you seen it used effectively?
I have not. I've often found that, it's a lot of drawing from what's out in public record, from other statements, and in my opinion, I don't put a lot of stock in the psychic evidence in crimes.
Interesting to hear what happens with this one. We're gonna, this little tease, we're gonna have to listen to the podcast to find out what happens. But for the event, it's kind of a cool forum. I mean, it's a great location to do this. What can attendees expect when they show up to Southern Roots for this podcast?
So it's going to be the first time that Final Days on Earth is going live. So I'm really excited to get to have the energy of the crowd, and we want to do a Q&A portion at the end to really include people. Another true crime podcast, Bloody Happy Hour, is going to open for us and get things started. So it should really be a great night for all true crime fans.
Is this the start of a tour? Do you think there could be? I mean,
hey, Justin, I would love it.
Get an opener and then the main act. I mean, it kind of makes sense. This is an exciting sort of a venue for this and a unique way of presenting it. There's ticketing though as well. What's the process like for that? What's included in that too? So
it's through Eventbrite. So Rogue Media has set up, I think the QR code will be on the screen, and they've set up a way to buy tickets online through Eventbrite. $20 gets you in the door, gets you exclusive access to these 2 podcast recordings, and seating is limited, so I encourage people to grab their tickets now.
I mean, there are probably a couple ways to answer this question, but for you, and also I'd like to know what you think about this. Why is it important that we revisit these cold cases? Societally and personally, what are the reasons? Why should we go back and look at these?
I think we have to make sure that we get it right. In matters of life and death, there's nothing more important. And if a killer is still walking free, people deserve to know that.
Yeah. And what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Claire. I think just being informed too about how to stay safe ourselves, and so yeah, I love research. So I think it's important to knowledge is power. So.
I know it's always one thing at a time, one day at a time, but do you hope to do another event like this in the future? Do you see yourself picking another case maybe that is still unsolved and maybe having the same approach to the way you presented it with this time?
Absolutely. I think there are no shortage of true crime stories that could use more attention. So I'll be keeping my eye out.
Yeah, and for you, what's your role kind of going to be in the dynamic of the talk, of the exchange?
So it'll be, I'm helping too with the research, and so we're just gonna go off of what the other person is saying. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Well, where can people, if they want to kind of follow what you do, how can they find you? How can they find your work? I know the QR code has a lot of information, but where can they find you? Instagram, Spotify, anywhere?
Yes, I'm everywhere.
Okay.
So Final Days on Earth, everywhere you listen to podcasts, and then Claire Sanama, on social media. You can find me if you want to. Okay.
Anything else either of you would like to add?
Just thank you so much for doing this, and we look forward to seeing the city of Waco come out and have a great event.
It's going to be a unique event for sure. You?
Yeah, we want to see you there.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay. Thank you again. Once again, the live podcast recording for A Killer Date Night happening Friday, April 25th at Southern Roots Brewery. You can purchase your tickets by scanning the QR code on your screen. And again, thank you to our guests, Claire and Celine. We'll be right back.